Hello and welcome back to A Splash of Paint. Now it's time for me to share a few of my simple practical tips and tricks to help you develop your own watercolour techniques. Let's take a quick look at how you can use something so simple as sandpaper to create lovely texture in watercolour paintings. Most watercolour papers have a textured surface. This particular one that I use is a knot surface, which is in the middle, so it's not rough and it's not smooth. And once the paint's dry, you can sand off the surface of paint, leaving a nice textured effect. And a snow scene like this painting of Chatsworth that we did in an earlier programme is perfect for this, because you can lift some snow off the trees and a bit of texture to the water. So a good quality sandpaper, don't go for the cheap stuff because all the bits of sand fall off. This is quite a decent paper. This is actually a little sharpening pencil block for pastels or something like that. But it's actually a very good sandpaper as well. So if I take a piece of it, there's a few things you can do. The classic thing is to kind of bend it over your finger a little bit on the corner there and go in and sand off some snow on these distant trees. And you lay it flat and you literally just rotate it round and you'll see pretty much straight away how it's giving that nice speckled snow effect on the actual winter trees there. So it gives a lovely effect, and I do this all the time. Against one of those things that when you go to an art group and do a demo, it's a thing that people don't realise you can do, and the way you discover these things is just by experimenting, thinking how can you utilise the texture. Well, obviously sandpaper is going to work very well for that. So I can do a bit of twisting. Don't be afraid to do this. Just get it in there and give it a go. Brush off the excess. It's also very nice as well where the edge of the tape came, that's left a very hard edge. If I fold it in half a few times, you can kind of go in and you can sand away the hard edge, especially in this distant piece on this left hand side there. Do it over there as well. It's also nice for the actual snow itself. If you've got an area that you want to be a bit textured, then you can lay the sandpaper flat to the paper and just give it a good sanding, and it will leave a bit of a texture, because if you look close at snow, it's got a very sort of orange peel kind of texture to it if it's fresh snow. It's also good in the water as well. Puts a bit of life in the water. Now eventually the sandpaper is going to lose its energy, so get yourself a new piece, and then I'm going to go into the water, and the harder you do this, the more it gives the effect of light catching the water. Think perspective on the water. Try and make it wider as it comes down. You can see the effect there quite clearly. The problem with it is it's addictive, knowing when to stop. If you fold it in half a few times, so it's got a bit of a soft edge on the tree branches, where the V connects the tree, you can actually go on there, give it a really good sanding, and I'm sure you can see how that's actually giving us the effect of a little bit of snow or something on the tree. As long as it's surrounded by darkness, it will come off, and you don't want too much, just a little bit of that. Let's get another piece of sandpaper, fold it in half a few times again, 2 or 3 times if you can, and then give it a really good sanding right at the bottom as well, because you get that little bit of speckled snow. It's good for the bark of the tree too. Surprising how much of a difference it makes. It works really well on the snow scenes and seascapes as well. Just a little bit more, folks, then we've cracked it, I think. Fold it in half a few times where the actual tree goes in front of the background trees. You could actually emphasize the lightness to make the tree really stand forward, and you can see that's brought that out. Light against dark. So there you go, a cracking little trick for watercolours using sandpaper. So there you have it, a nice little exercise for you to try. Why not show us how you get on by uploading examples of your work to the community section of the SAA website. Visit saa.co.uk for details. Now it's time to welcome back SAA professional artist Sharon Hurst for another one of her spellbinding secrets. Let's see Sharon's top tip for painting enchanting shadows and creating magical glazes.
Hello! For those of you who may have seen her before in the SAA Paint magazine, this is Wanda. Let me introduce you. She's my friendly witch, cat called Ghost, and a little spider called Spectre. And with this particular tip, I would like to show you how to repair her arm. I've made a mistake somewhere along the line when I've been painting my background. I fluffed it and I've managed to get this green paint on her arm. And although I've tried to paint over it, it's not worked too well. Now, all right, I have the option of using my magic sponge and removing it, but I'm not going to in this instance. I'm going to glaze it. I'm going to show you how to put net on her arm. First of all, with a teeny little bit of sponge, I'm just intending to remove a bit of my background colour there. I also clean it, want to pull some out from here. And then this I can overpaint, and that will look as though the net is on top of that. So just dab it to dry it. And in my palette, I have some Payne's Grey. I need to use this very thinly, and this colour particularly because her top is Payne's Grey. I can make this look as though the fabric is all decayed and well, I mean, flying around at great speeds it's going to be, isn't it? It's all tattered. So now we'll put some net on top. I'd like to say to you that there's no such thing as a mistake. They are all just opportunities that you haven't used yet. So it's a good one to remember. With this, thin paint, large brush, and again, be brave. Straight over the arm in Payne's Grey, thin wash, look at this. Over that there, round here, and across here. Fill it in, just bring it across, nudge it up to this. Now it's important to note that with fabric, the body's curving, so I would have darker edges. So again, coming into the Payne's Grey a little more thickly this time, bring it across here, down this edge here, mix a little more paint, darker colour down and through. And then the same will apply. The thing that puts the thing on the thing is the shadow that's under the thing. So the bracelet would cast a shadow. Pop it in, just let the colour bleed. Come back with a clean brush and just blend it. This is going to cast a shadow on her arm here. So we'll do the same. Just drop a shadow in underneath. Shadow there on the top of the arm. And already you can see the curves starting to form. Underneath here, this would be darker as well. So shadow again on the bottom part of her arm. And then with a thinner brush, thick paint, pop some creases into the material. So thick paint, I'm talking about, you know, emulsion thickness, only enough water to manipulate the paint. And in her arm here, this would cause a crease, wouldn't it? You'd see creases there. And perhaps up here, again, the fabric would fold and crease here. And something here, just bring a few through like this. And here, I'm going to put a little bit of net on that edge there. Just define this edge here. And for good measure, I have some white gouache in my palette. So making sure my brush is good and clean, I can come into the white gouache and this time lay in some highlights on the creases of the fabric. So just imagine your light here, residual light from the cauldron is flicking up and we've got some white highlights here. You can use this as well to just nip in to the top of this here where I put the lace and just put the edges of the lace here. You can even, if you want to, drop a pattern into the lace. So look at this. Just throw in a few little florals in light and in dark. So going back to my Payne's grey, in here, look at this. And that is glazing. You're aiming to see the colour underneath. So paint it as normal, and then you can lay colour on top, any colour, thin colour, and you have this. Now when all else fails, and trust me with this particular painting, with paint on the side of my hand, I've actually done this whilst I'm painting it, and that's what this is. So when all else fails, just put a tattoo on. How's that? Thank you.
Thanks, Sharon. Simple glazing techniques are perfect for softening edges, adding subtle colours, and adjusting tone. Okay, it's time for us to take a little break now, but join us in part 3 when versatile experimental SAA artist Alison Board concludes today's Try Your Hand At project, looking at how watercolour can capture the power and structure of trees. We'll see you after the break.